I did not expect my husband to get over me this fast. My ex-husband and I have been separated for just over a month, and we are recently divorced. As far as I know, he has a new partner while I have to continue fighting my internal pain. Don't confuse me, my ex-husband is a very loving man, but I have always seen how he has been able to get out of each loss quickly. During the time he was with me, his maternal grandmother, his maternal grandfather and later his paternal grandfather died, all those whom he loved too much. I saw him cry for several days about their deaths, and I saw how after about 5 or 6 days he smiled again like before. Whenever I asked him if he felt bad, he only said yes, but being sad won't bring them back to life. At the beginning of our marriage his cat died of old age. He had that cat before he even met me, he raised it, he watched it grow and he watched it die. I had never seen it so broken, I had never seen it cry so much, and still, it took him a week, to smile again, to act like before, as if his sadness had an off button. For reasons that are not relevant, he and I ended up divorcing. Our divorce was a quick one. I stayed with my son and he stayed at his house while I moved in with my parents. For some reason I knew that he was as devastated as I was, but during the divorce negotiation agreements I found out that he already had a new partner. It shocked me quite a bit. Had he gotten over me so quickly? Did he at least cry for me? Am I worth less than his cat was worth to him? I know that he was not unfaithful to me. He never gave me reasons to distrust. He always had access to his phone, his computer, his social networks. I am not proud to say that I am a jealous person. You know what he told me? If it makes you feel better, I can record my entire day using my cell phone and then send you the file, and do that daily, so you will know that I have not been unfaithful to you. Those were his words. I froze at such an idea, but the calmness with which he said it made me know that he was telling the truth. He even offered to share his location via WhatsApp 724 or let me call him at any time of the day. Knowing that he was faithful to me calmed me down. Then why? How could he get over our relationship so quickly? Wasn't I worth enough to him? Even when I saw him during the divorce negotiations, I saw his look. It was not the same loving look that he wished me every day. No, it was a look of pity, a look of you are less than me and I pity you. Although he didn't say it with his words. I hate myself, I hate him, I hate his new partner. He was always a homeboy, he doesn't like to drink, he has never smoked. When we went to parties he knew how to have fun without having to drink, but I still saw that he only had eyes for me. Then why? How did his look change so quickly? I can't stand it. I should be strong for my son, but I just can't stand it. I feel like I'm less because of him. I feel like I'm even worth less than a damn dead cat. I know I should go to therapy, but what else can I do? How can I get over someone so fast?
People who have been kidnapped, what was it like? I was around 18 years old, we'd been dating for about 8 months and I broke up with him because my parents were treating me differently and I didn't like it. It put too much strain on both my boyfriend and I, and my parents and I's relationship, and I couldn't take it. Broke up with him one night and about a week later he showed up at my parents' house wanting to talk to me. My mom answered the door. I didn't want any part of it, so she told him to go away. He got belligerent and eventually left, so she called the police. He was pulled over, and given a warning, then they let him be. Dad was at work, Mom took sister somewhere, and I was playing Mario Party 8 on my Wii at home. There was a knock at the back door and I looked through the glass from the couch and he was there looking and trying to talk to me. Again, I didn't want any part of it, so I ignored him. He got mad and shouldered the door. The frame cracked. He did it again and the door burst open. I said, "What the F are you doing?" And he grabbed me and put me over his shoulder and carried me outside. I figured he was just going to put me in the front seat and leave with me, but then he popped the trunk of his car with the remote and I realized what was going to happen. I twisted a little, which surprised him, and he dropped me, but then he put me in a headlock where I couldn't breathe and I stopped struggling. He tossed me in the trunk and shut it and drove off. At this point, I was doing everything I could to get out of the trunk, so I started kicking the back of the seats to get out. I eventually got one open enough to stick my head through to get some air. It was in August, and the temperatures outside were riding 95 degrees, so inside the trunk was about 110. I got my head out and could finally breathe. He had calmed down a bit, and I knew he just wanted to talk to me, so he didn't really freak when I was able to climb into the back seat. When he was putting me in the trunk, the neighbor kids were outside and they saw what was happening and ran inside to tell their parents. Parents called the police called my mom, and my mom was doing 95 down the highway to get home. Ex-boyfriend drove me an hour and a half away to an old camp he used to go to and we talked for a while. He then took me to Pizza Hut because I said I was hungry. I remember wondering why no one was concerned that I was waiting for a pizza without shoes or socks on. Because no one said anything, I figured my parents hadn't realized what had happened yet. Little did I know, an Amber Alert had already been issued. Anyways, he decided he didn't want to go to jail, so he was going back to his house to get a shotgun. When he got there, the cops were waiting for him and tried to taser him. They missed and he jumped back in his car and did a backwards U-turn. He started driving through the city at speeds of 60 to 85 miles per hour. If you've never been in a high-speed police pursuit, let me tell you, it's a rush. So much adrenaline. Anyways, he was going to get on the highway but the police had it blocked off with spike strips, so he turned onto a back road that dead-ended. He ended up crashing into a tree. I was in the front seat by this time. The cops swarmed the car, pulled us both out, and since they didn't realize who we were, cuffed us both and put us in separate cop cars. Once everything was situated, they uncuffed me and put me in a police SUV and transported me back to the police station in my city. Parents and sister were there, freaked out, found out I was okay. The whole ordeal lasted around 10 hours. Ex got 4 years and is now out of jail in a halfway house. My best friend is marrying my rapist. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my daughter to attend my BFF's wedding to her biological father? I, 27, have an amazing daughter, A, 12, and I'm married to the most amazing man, Ted, 27, in the world. My daughter and I have been living in Japan for the last 9 years, the home country of my husband. I returned to the UK for the first time since leaving this month, August 2023, to meet my nephew. My best friend, Renee, 26, and I have been best friends since we were 3 years old. She has always been my rock through everything, especially when I was pregnant with my daughter. As you can see, I gave birth to my daughter when I was 15. Her biological father, Dean, 33, has had no interaction with either of us since the night I got pregnant, nor ever showed an interest, until now. To address the elephant in the room, Dean roped me when I was 15 and he was 21. I come from a very religious family, also known as, my father is a deacon, there was no option. However, I absolutely adore my daughter and do not equate her to that horrible experience. She saved me and I have spent every day loving her thanks to a lot of support, therapy, and her just being the most loving little sweet peach out there. She doesn't know the nature of her conception because how do you explain that to any child under any circumstances? My husband adopted her, and she knows they're not related biologically, but they absolutely adore one another. Dean gave up all parental rights in a plea deal for a lesser sentence. I came back to the UK to meet my nephew, but booked to stay for a few weeks to visit my family and friends, but it was all a surprise. No one except my mum knew we were coming over. It was very fun and so lovely to see everyone's shock and surprise. My daughter is having the best to our son, my wife and I helped her financially and got her an apartment. Before the divorce was even finalized, we received a wedding invitation. I made it clear to my son, I would not be attending and they would not have my blessing. His mother told him she would see to it that I would attend. I stayed consistent in my decision. I also asked him not to bring his fiancée around our house out of respect for the mother of his children. The wedding happened on February 11th. The night before, my wife gave me the final push. I did not attend. Our daughter also did not attend for the same reasons. My wife picked up our grandkids, got them dressed and attended the wedding. My daughter and I decided to spend the evening with his ex. I couldn't imagine her sitting alone, while her kids attended their father's wedding. She was taken aback that I didn't end up attending his wedding. We took her out to distract her mind. I just wanted her to know, she'll always be considered family to us. My daughter also made a joke that they can drop the in-law status and just be sisters now. She was very tearfully grateful. I realized just how badly she needed our support and specifically on that night. The next morning, my son called to tell me how much of a horrible father I am for not attending his wedding. Few days later he caught wind that I spent the wedding evening with his ex. He said that was the ultimate form of betrayal, and furthermore myself and his sister would have to earn a relationship with him on his terms only. I went to work in a dangerous fiery restaurant while high on mushrooms, but ended up putting in one of my best shifts ever. I was a bit of a hippie growing up, I'm talking white boy with dreadlocks that played bass in a slightly psychedelic rock band, so naturally I started a pretty good relationship with hallucinogenic drugs, mainly mushrooms and acid. Fast forward a couple years, I'm out of culinary school in my early 20s working away for a restaurant that had one of the best kitchen crews I've ever had the pleasure of working with. I got the rare Friday off, so I started making plans with my buddies to take the day for a much needed mushroom trip as I hadn't done them in a couple years. Around 2:30 we take our dose, about 5.5 grams each, and start waiting for them to kick in. Now for anyone who has never done them, they can take anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour to kick in. So me and my buddies are just smoking weed and playing video games. About 40 minutes after taking them I got a call from work. Tim cut his hand pretty badly, we need you ASAP, so being the good employee I say yeah no problem, I'll be there in 30 minutes. Get off the phone and my buddy asks dude, what did you just agree to? Without missing a beat, I'm going into work. Guy cut his hand. Dude, we are like 10 minutes out from tripping. OF. I panic briefly but remember past experiences of friends having bad trips and calm myself down. Knowing we have a good crew, I'm thinking poop, maybe I can just hide down on Friars for the night or something. I get in, not tripping too bad yet, colors are brighter and I've got a warm feeling in my stomach. Okay, I effing got this. Stroll over to the reservation book. About 150 people between 6 and 8, right in the middle of when I'll be speaking. Okay, I'm effed. Get onto the line and it turns out I'm working sauté with a guy I'm so in sync with we barely have to talk. I asked to take the easy job of setting up pans and plating. Figures. I'd set myself on fire if I was the one cooking. As we get into the bulk of the rush I start tripping harder and harder, things look like they are breathing, getting minor hallucinations in my peripheral vision, but I'm keeping my poop together. At about 7 we are just flying, food is coming out so well and the guy calling out orders is keeping everyone motivated and says holy poop, the sauté boys are killing it tonight. I can't contain myself anymore and just burst out laughing. Everyone looks at me like I'm crazy. As I'm laughing I manage to say I'm on effing mushrooms man, which sends the whole kitchen into an uproar that can be heard from the dining room. Word got around quickly to everyone and they were all making fun of me and pointing and laughing. Word gets to the owner, he comes back, takes a look at me and asks the board caller, has he been putting up food? Yeah, he's been killing it. Then I don't give a F what he's on, just keep killing it. The rest of the night goes smooth, so I guess it wasn't much of a F up in the end, but it was a hell of an interesting night for sure.
My boyfriend's crazy ex is pregnant with his baby. He invited her to sleep at our house, so I left him. Yesterday morning I woke up to a text from my boyfriend telling me that his crazy ex-girlfriend texted him saying that she was pregnant with his child and she's due in 4 months. I was shocked and taken back by the message since I had just woken up. I was honestly upset, but I didn't freak out. I decided that it was going to be better to think this through now than do it later. I sat and waited patiently for him to come home and I talked to him. We contacted his lawyer and told his lawyer what was going on. After the lawyer left, my boyfriend ended up calling the crazy ex and asking her what her plans were. To me it felt like I was sitting in the dark just watching two lives unfold in front of my own eyes with no information, no answers, not a single thing. He was really mad. After an hour of calming him down, we got in the car. Originally it was to get gas and cigarettes, but after he got gas, he had said I'm going to go see her, which made me feel unsafe. He's told me she's done drugs while pregnant and that she used to beat him before. He was driving like a madman. From where she lives it's a 30-minute drive, but we were there in 20 minutes. He told me to stay in the car, don't leave whatever I heard, don't say or do anything. That day I spent 5 hours in the car having a literal panic attack. My hands were tingling, heart was hurting, I had palpitations, I couldn't breathe, I was crying and shaking. We came back yesterday and my boyfriend was crying, freaking out, yelling at her and saying that she should die, that he was going to kill her and her new boyfriend. I haven't said a single word to him this entire time, I didn't even let him touch me. We went home tired from the adrenaline rush. I woke up this morning to him kissing me on my cheek and saying I love you. I fell back to sleep only to wake up feeling like complete crap. I decided to ask my family to come pick me up and I told my grandma on the way to her house. My cousin was also in the car when I said what was going on. I later told my aunt, who I cried with about it for a long time because I was scared, only to find a text from my boyfriend saying he got counseling for her, him and the baby. I felt so left out in the cold, so I was pissed, but I didn't want to say anything, so I stayed quiet. After a while he texted me again saying that she was going to stay at his house until everything is sorted out. Now I don't trust this woman, and her sleeping in our bed pissed me off. I finally had enough and snapped. I told him I'm moving out and I didn't care what he felt. We got into a huge argument and it lasted for an hour. I told him that he didn't even know if it was his, so why is he giving her all this attention? I ended up packing my poop and leaving. Now, my boyfriend is begging me to come back, but I am not going to let that happen.